You're watching Nitty. My name is Mizan, and today I'm sat in an E63 BMW M6, and this car is known for having a V10 up front, and this is easily one of my favorite cars ever. That's ever. And today I'm so excited to welcome our guest, and that's no other than Sour. Sour, thank you for coming.
Thank you for having me.
You're very welcome. And you should be no stranger to who Sour is, because Sour, this is, how many appearances have you done on the channel now? This is your
third, I believe.
This is your fourth.
Fourth?
We did the Unit, we did the
yes.
Santorini, and we did the V12.
Yeah.
So this is your fourth appearance, and every time we've had John, we've had a very special car. You own an E61 M5 Touring, correct?
Correct, yeah.
And that's more of a collector spec. It's the wagon, it's got low mileage, it's the same color as this Interlagos blue.
Same color, yeah.
And it's definitely a collector's car, that one. Unmolested. You don't even drive that one. That's more an investment car.
More or less, yeah.
And then this one is one that you can actually enjoy, isn't it?
More like an everyday drive.
Yes. You don't drive daily because it probably costs you an arm and a leg.
Yeah.
But you still nonetheless drive this way more than you ever drove the M5.
I don't think I've even driven the M5 since I bought it, to be honest with you.
Did you know that this engine is a one-off and they only used it in the M5 and the M6 of the E6X generation? We never saw it ever again, and that's what makes this car so special. But that also applies to its little brother. So BMW wanted to put an amazing engine in the M3 also when these cars launched. And what car was that? That was the E9X M3. And the engine in that car is the S65. And it's essentially this same engine, but they took 2 cylinders off of it and they bored down the displacement to 4 litre instead of 5 litre. And both cars feature an amazing soundtrack for that reason. And I really love this era of BMWs because it's so motorsport derived, isn't it?
There's the reason for why you drive this car, isn't it?
Yeah.
And the reason for that is this is a categorized N car.
Correct, yeah.
Okay, so talk to me about that. How did it become a Cat N car?
So I think it was done by the previous owner.
Yep.
And he had me on family, and I think if I remember correctly, someone hit him on the back of the car, on the corner. So
And you can tell by the paint difference on the rear bumper.
Yeah. So where the crush bar is basically a carbon fiber one, and I think it's quite expensive to replace. So the insurance company retained it out based on that.
Yep.
But since then, the previous owner, after the accident, he replaced the crush bar.
And he resprayed it as well.
Resprayed it. Obviously, it's not the best of paint.
That's the thing, it's not the best of work. So we're dealing with a car that has the title of being categorized.
Yep.
And on top of that, the bodywork could be better, let's be honest here.
Yeah.
So
well,
this,
paint work, yeah.
and the mileage as well, it's below 120,000 miles.
Yeah.
So with that in mind, it hasn't got any of the things going for it to be a
Garage queen.
Yeah, garage queen. So you drive it as intended. You didn't even buy this to make a profit out of it or to flip it. Nothing. It's something that you got an opportunity to buy, and you knew that I can enjoy that car. And you know what? When I'm ready to let go, I'll let go, right?
Yep.
And the funny thing is, we're now in a position where you actually are thinking about letting it go, right?
Unfortunately, yeah, just because of time. As you know, like I said, I got this car to where I've got the M5 Touring.
Yep. You don't need another V10 in the collection, especially one in this condition.
Originally, I thought of getting another V10 is because I wasn't really driving the other one.
Yes.
And I really wanted to drive a V10 more often.
Yes.
So I thought, okay, what more can I do? Well,
this is the best example of what you could have gotten into.
That's it.
Because the rod bearings have been done on this as well,
Yep.
isn't it?
Yep.
So the only problematic thing is this SMG box.
Correct.
That's the only thing that can go wrong on the car,
Yep.
really, at that moment.
yo, what are you doing?
Sorry, I wasn't molesting the engine, I promise. I honestly promise. But anyway, this car is featuring a 5 litre naturally aspirated V10 derived from F1 at the time, and is producing 500 brake horsepower and 520 Newton meters of torque. Now, one funny thing about this car is it is capable of producing 400 horsepower and being limited to that, because there's a button on the steering wheel which has the letter M on it, which stands for MDM mode, and if you do not activate it, it will only produce 400. To unleash the full 500, you have to press that button. This car is also paired with a 7-speed SMG gearbox, which stands for sequential manual gearbox. It behaves like a manual, but it is robotized. It's a very controversial gearbox from BMW in the noughties because it was put into the E46 M3 and the M5 at the time. It's a gearbox that is not very well loved, if I'm being honest. It's not aged well. Finally, this car sends its power to the rear wheels and it has a limited slip to put that power down.
Now, the other thing as well is you've got a custom one-of-one E31 8 Series, which you've done a full body kit to. It's your show car, and you were toying with the idea of taking the engine out of this and putting it in that, right?
Correct, yeah. But then, unfortunately, well, it's not unfortunately, I then thought, get a E39 M5 S62 engine in there.
Yep.
Which is more era
appropriate.
Kind of, yeah, appropriate.
And
so
it suits the chassis and the 90s feel of that car.
correct, that's it.
So I don't blame you, because this is a very noughties engine, isn't it, this one?
very.
Yeah. So I'm quite happy you went with the S62. Don't get me wrong, I'm upset the fact that this car is going to go as far as it will go and it will not live forever in your hands, but nonetheless the S62 is a fire-breathing weapon, which we will get on in the summer, I'm sure, isn't it?
100%.
I've got the C63 and I love that car, and it was between a C63 and an E60 M5. I would have gone with the E60 purely because I think when people think about the V10, the E60 comes to mind more rather than the E63.
Yeah.
So I wanted the M5, but that doesn't mean I would have said no to one of these. But I'll be honest, I went with safety. If that can ever be a thing when it comes to these kind of cars, because the C63 is generally quite a bulletproof car all around, and I went with the C63 and I'm very happy with my decision. I don't regret it. Maybe I regret buying it first, because that is more of a forever car. I can hold on to that. This one, I'm like you, I want to get it, enjoy it and let it go before it bankrupts me. Whereas the C63 probably won't bankrupt me. It will probably cost me a lot of money but not bankrupt me.
But then you're missing out on the V10.
Yes, and I can't get rid of the C60 because all my money's tied up there. It's a wet day.
I know.
It's a busy day. Look at the roads. And we're very limited, aren't we?
You have to be cautious as well with so many people as well. Like
that's what I'm saying. I would love for you to put your foot down where I can hear the soundtrack, but we're so limited. It's so incredible. There's more cars ahead of us, so it's not even overtaking.
Oh yes.
Oh yes. Yeah, keep in gear 2. 2 and 3, 2 and 3. That sounds so good. It sounds like a Hurricane, a Gallardo.
As soon as you put your feet down, you're behind the
I'll be honest with you, I've got blue balls. I've got blue balls in a car. And if you don't know what blue balls is, don't Google it. But I've got blue balls. I literally have that feeling that whatever was meant to come out didn't come out. I don't know what else I can say. I'm so frustrated. Do you feel that frustration too?
Trust me.
There's that frustration in you. That, now behind the wheel of the M6, and they say you should never meet your heroes. They say that, but I've got a massive smile on my face. I can't even hide it. I mean, I'm looking at the road. I've got a nice head-up display looking at me. I don't have to take my eyes off the road. And there's something about driving this car knowing that under my right foot I have got 500 horses on tap, right?
Yep.
As a car, it feels like driving an E63 6 Series, but you can tell that this is a very special car, and it comes down to the trinkets. There's carbon everywhere, extended leather all over the car. It just screams premium. The car just screams it, and low end, that grunt of the V10 is there. Yeah, in terms of driving, very typical E-Series car from that era. You know, if you drove an E92 and E60, this is the same sort of era in terms of the way the car feels and drives. I can't feel any difference. I mean, the gearbox is horrible. I'm gonna say that straight up. It's a horrible, horrible, horrible gearbox. God damn the person that designed this. Why? It's a robotized manual. I'm sorry, but if you can't make a good automatic gearbox, just stick to the manuals. There's nothing. There's no shame in that. And you can set how aggressive you want it to be. You can put it on the low setting so it acts more sluggish. You can make it more aggressive so it snaps your neck a bit, because it is a single clutch system. You know, this is like an Aventador, and you can sort of make it give you the bird neck, if you know what I mean. You see, we both did that head bop.
Yeah.
We both did the head bop. I could definitely shift fast in this gearbox. I'm no Lewis Hamilton, but I know I can change gears quicker than that, 100%. And honestly, the best way to describe this gearbox is literally when you see a beautiful girl and she's out of this world and you want to go talk to her. She's got that gremlin friend with her that looks like this.
And this is Jewel.
Your date.
Oh God, I'm out.
Hey, we had a deal.
Steve, she's so ugly. So ugly.
She's so ugly, and she's like, no, you can't talk to my friend, she's with me. And she got a man at home. No, you can't talk to her, she's with me. That's what this gearbox is like. It's like this engine on a downshift. Hey, you are a very pretty girl. What's your name? Where are you from? Talk to me. I want to get to know you. And the gearbox is like, no, you can't talk to her. Why? Why BMW? Why? Why'd you do this? Arguably, this is one of the best engines they've ever made. And they've made it to the worst gearbox that they could have ever come up with. The thing is, right, I've got the C63 at home, and it's got the MCT gearbox. It doesn't work as great as a DCT, but only if you're really going for it, you'll notice that little lag. It's like comparing the ZF8 to a DCT. Amazing gearboxes, but they don't have that edge that the DCT does. This is horrible. I would rather be one-footed and lose my left leg and be in a manual and change gears with 1 foot and gas it, and I'll still be quicker than this gearbox. Traction light loves to come on. I tell you what, it handles so well. It's an M car. She's an M car. And the downshifts are actually not that bad either.
No, it's not.
The downshifts are actually genuinely not bad. I'm enjoying this.
I can tell.
I'm using the paddles. I'm using as much of my own instinct than the cars. And that was all without the MDM mode, which is now enabled. Power mode on the gearbox. Let's see the difference. Why? He's come alive.
It's literally a completely different monster.
That's an extra 100 horsepower. I love the V10. It's the best engine, hands down. I've driven V12s, I've driven V6s, VR6s, inline 6s, V8s all day long. The V10 is one of mankind's best inventions.
Right, I've got a question for you then.
Go for it.
You're a C63.
Yes. The thing is, I'll say to you right now, I'm not a AMG boy.
Right.
I'm an M boy. I'm an M boy. You just have to put me in an M car and you'll see there's a different side of me that comes out. So much trust and faith behind the machine all day long. I think anything short of supercars, I'm an M boy. But as a reviewer, I give my praises where I have to. For example, the B7 RS4, I sing about it to this day because it drives like an M car. This is an M car, but that gearbox lets it down. Now, if we're talking about chassis, brakes, setup, this is an amazing car. But the gearbox is such an Achilles heel. It's such a handicap.
So all-rounder, what would you choose?
I think after driving this, as much as I love the V10, I think an E39 M5 is probably where I'd want to go. Because I think that would tick everything. The manual, the raw driving feel, everything.
I get that. But
between this and the C63,
yeah.
C63 is not a dynamic car, in my opinion. It's not as stiff as it should be. You know, but the engine is like this. They're marvels. Now, as a V8, the C63 is one of the best V8s ever built. It's a hand-built engine, 6.2 liters of displacement. I love the engine. The engine is why I bought it over an M3 of the same generation. They cost the same amount of money. I could have saved money by buying an E92 M3, but I chose not to. So, I'm going to be honest with you. This car, head-to-head with the C63, I'm going to sum up like this. If you're asking me to pick a mistress,
yep,
I'm picking the M5 or this, M6 with the V10. But if you're asking me to pick my wife, I'm taking the C63.
Low maintenance, yeah?
Low maintenance, lower, not low, lower. And I'm going to say this now, whilst we're on the topic. If you've got an E46 M3 and you voluntarily pick that gearbox, you are a fool.
You are nothing, you are a fool, and you are a waste of time. Good night.
And you know one thing that makes me sad as I'm driving this car? The RS6 of this generation also featured a 5.2 litre V10 up front, derived from the Lamborghini Gallardo. And they used a ZF6 speed. And I wonder how that would feel compared to this. I do wonder. I would love to get my hands on one of them. And even if not that, what about the S6? That also had the 5.2 litre. So what a generation. And nowadays we're talking about hybrids and EVs.
Yeah.
The S85 is one of mankind's greatest creations, no different to the invention of a plane. What were the BMW M department thinking when they built this engine? What was the need? I think they did it just to prove they could. This car deserves legendary status, so why isn't this an automotive marvel like my C63? It's simply because of that gearbox. The S65 block in the M3 is kept alive by many. The rod bearings and throttle actuators all get done, and it's known as common maintenance. But when it comes to the S85, why do they end up in an early grave? It's because the M3 came with a manual or a DCT, whereas the M5 and M6 were lumbered with their SMG. The gearbox doesn't function well, nor is it reliable, so the M3 gets that free pass on that basis alone, which breaks my heart, as I don't think the S65 can hold a candle to the S85. Just like someone buying an M car expects those big jobs to be done, we should all demand that these M5s and M6s are manual swapped, and only then will these cars be worth their weight in gold.